Support for Connecticut East this week comes from Lyman Allen Art Museum, now on view, mixed media works by Puerto Rican artist Emna Arroyo, whose art explores connections between the African continent and its diaspora in an ongoing endeavor to reclaim a scattered heritage. More at lymanallen.org. Newport Mansions, now offering a limited guide-led experience of the third floor of the Breakers Mansion. Never-before-seen private bedrooms, bathrooms and recreational spaces used by the Vanderbilt family and household staff for more than a century. Tickets and information at newportmansions.org. Alliance for Living, the only HIV/AIDS service organisation and resource centre in southeastern Connecticut. It also deals with homelessness and assists people dealing with substance use disorder. Learn more, including working with us, at allianceforliving.org. SCAD, the Southeastern Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, is offering a $3,500 sign-on bonus for licensed clinicians. Go to licensedclinicians.org to learn more. That's licensedclinicians.org. And Connecticut Council on Problem Gambling, here to help individuals and families affected by gambling-related harm. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit our website at ccpg.org. He's an Emmy Award-winning singer-songwriter born and raised in Waterford. We talked to Steve Elci about his music career and his new album of songs for kids called All Together Now. Plus, we take a look at other stories making the headlines from around the region. This is Connecticut East This Week. Hello, I'm Brian Scott Smith. Music has many genres, and whether you're young or old, there's something for everyone when it comes to the types of music we like. And if you're a younger music listener, there's plenty to choose from by way of artists and music styles. So whatever your age, sit back and take a listen to our interview with multi-award-winning local singer-songwriter Steve Elci as we delve into his music career and talk about the inspiration that took him down the path of writing music especially for kids. And we get to listen to some of his new songs from his latest album. Steve, ever so many thanks for joining us. We're lucky in a way because you're such an incredibly busy person, especially into summer. We were having a quick chat before the interview and you're saying, obviously you've got your day job and then, 2 shows?
2.5 shows a week if you kind of average it out. But thanks for letting me be here with you today.
That's incredible. Do you actually ever get time to sleep?
Hardly. My wife would tell you no.
So before we get fully into the interview, just in case there's anyone out there who has not heard of Steve Elci and friends, of course, we'll be mentioning obviously the band as well a little bit later. What is it you do and how did you get into the music scene? Because it's a very specific genre because you write for children.
My dad is a musician. My dad is a big band musician. He was a big band musician from the 60s and 70s, and he was a writer and arranger. And my early childhood was spent, I'd have friends come over to sleep over at my house, and his big band would be around our little pool table that we had and performing every Friday night, practicing in our house. So I was, at an early age, sort of injected all this music from Count Basie, Ray Charles, all the standards, right? And it sort of just fed into my blood. I loved what he was doing. I loved that he was creating his own versions of these songs, and it sort of stuck with me. Moving forward, I was musical, so I started at drums and was the first thing that I wanted to try to learn. But quickly, I realized that I like to write songs. So moved to guitar. And as anybody through the 80s, I wanted to be a rock star, right? And, this is really the crux of me. The 80s for me were an amazing time. It was a time when I felt that music could change the world. I really did. You have Live Aid, you have all these aids and farm aids and you name it, right? And these and all my favorite artists were part of this movement. So that's what I wanted to do. And so when I was a senior in high school, oddly enough, with some other help of a committee, we created for Waterford High School Harmony for the Homeless, which is kind of interesting. And we raised quite a bit of money, all original music, and it was my first sort of splash into the world of music helping the community. It sort of stuck with me. Still continued down this rock and roll road until much later when my wife and I had kids. And this is is a kind of a funny story, and I love to tell it because it's just, this is exactly how it happened. So I'm in the rock and roll mode, and it's my son's, I don't know, third or fourth birthday, and we have all these wonderful activities planned for all the parents and kids that come over. And so they came over to this party, and quite literally, in a matter of minutes, everything that we had planned had either fizzled out or didn't work, and all of a sudden we're at this party, and we have about an hour and a half to kill. So a few of them said, Steve, go grab your guitar and play something for us, right? So, me pretending to be the rock star, what am I going to do with these kids here? How am I, anyway, so I grab my guitar and I come out, and everybody's out in front of me, kids, parents, and I have no idea what to do. No children's song has ever been written by me at that point in 2007 or whatever it was. And I just started to make things up on the fly. And it went over so well. They were dancing. They were singing to whatever I was singing. I don't even know what I was singing, but I was making it up as I was going on. And I realized right then, watching sort of the happiness spread amongst everybody and the dancing and the fun, and went from this party that was sort of dismal to now a fun party. And I'm like, there's something to this. There really is. It was something that touched me very deep that day. And so finishing up some of the rock things I was working on, I said, I'm going to try a children's album. And so I started to look at what that might look like and realize that, boy, children's music is pretty broad. I mean, you can have reggae, you can have rock, you can have ska, you can have pop. It can all be under this umbrella of children's music, right? And I like that because as a musician, I was able to create music that satisfied the musician at heart, or this was my design back then, and then sort of create music that the parents enjoyed. And then one step further is, of course, the kids need to like it. So that was my goal in 2008. And since 2008 to now, to this my latest release coming out all together now, July 19th, I have really perfected that. That has been my goal, is to develop music that really pushes the boundaries of children's music, talking about subjects that aren't necessarily easy topics: diversity, war, peace, love, empowerment, any of the social issues that are really breaking down our world at the moment that really need to be out there. I wanted to talk to it through the lens of children and have it connect with them, connect with parents, and be musically viable as any pop song. So up until last album, which was Nutmegger, I was sort of doing it, but I was doing it in a very cloaked way. I wasn't out front with it. My messages were sort of there, but a little bit hidden, right? Not hidden might not be the right word. I just not so in your face. And then, the world as it is right now is seemingly on edge, sort of breaking apart at the seams. And I'm watching children have to deal with watching images on TV, not really understanding it. I'm watching, different factions trying to break down our education system and all that, right? So, and I said, that's it. I am going to be true to me, and I'm going to write the music that I've really wanted to write since the very beginning, and I'm not going to sort of listen to what they may say, what should or should not be a children's song, and I'm going to do it my way. And so I took these messages of today's issues, and I put them into this album in a way that I believe is for children, for parents, and for the musicians alike.
As we said, you've been doing this for a number of years now, and as you've just said very eloquently, the world has and continues to change. With things like social media and the way that music is produced these days as well, do you think that it's the golden time sort of for music? And I'll explain what I mean by that, in that I know anybody can do it, but it gives the ability for more people to touch more people with these messages than possibly ever before, and in different ways. Because music is the great leveler. I mean, people love music, and if you get a good anthem, I mean, it really does stick with people.
Absolutely. I am one who embraces all technology, especially if it gets used as a tool, right? So, with AI, it all goes along with AI, with the video, with images, and with music. If used as a tool and used in the creative process, I have no issue with it. I think creating the best you can is always good. With the social media platforms, you can put it out out there quickly and get it out there and share it with everyone. You know, always the issue is, you know, rising above the clutter. And so this album, in the past, I have just put the music out there with limited success because it wasn't supported, say, by video. This album has 8 videos to go along with it, specifically designed I wanted to push each message as best as I could. And I thought video is the best way to do that. And so far, it has proved right.
We did say at the very top of the interview, it is Steve Elci and Friends. You are one of the driving forces, obviously, of this collective. Talk to us about the band.
The Friends, Casey and Michelle O'Neill, have been edutainers with me since really the beginning.
I'm just going to interrupt you. I love that because I saw it on the website, edutainment. I mean, we love to like bust words together sort of thing, but edutainment.
Casey came up with that. Fantastic. And so if I was to produce music that has a deeper sense of gravity to it, we need to deliver it to children or to families in a specific way. Casey and Michelle's job is to help me deliver a song that has heavy messages to them in a way that they can comprehend it and sort of enjoy it. So they're critical. They're not always with me. You know, they are very busy themselves, but when I can get them with me in performance, it takes it to a new level because they're able to sort of be the driving force where I can't. Since I have to sing and play, they're out there in the audience giving children activity, movement to what's happening, a story to what's happening, and just bringing it all to life. And it really makes a difference. It does. And I can tell you, they come from a background of improv. And I got to tell you that before I started working with them in 2008, even though I'd been in music all my life, I had this phobia of singing. So like before a concert, a week before, I would find myself sick because I would just be nervous of what's going to happen. Are they going to like the material? Is the sound going to be good? All of that goes into a production for this, would get to me. And then I started working with Casey and Michelle, and their improv, their ability to roll with the problems that are happening at that moment was something that I really learned how to embrace. And now, after being with them for years, they have taught me, now they're not songwriters per se, but they have taught me how to just relax and to just go with the flow a little bit and sort of own the situation as it stands and make the best of it. It's been quite a fun union, all three of us. It's taken us from Nashville to Maine and everywhere in between, just performing and rolling along with the songs that I create. It really is a magical process.
Now, audiences can be tough generally. Children can be even tougher as an audience as well. I don't need to tell you that. How does the music go down? What sort of feedback do you get from the young people? And of course, being a dad yourself, what do your own children think? So,
starting with the second part of that question, for the longest time, I was the cool person, when my kids were young, right? We had played with Kidsploration. There was a time in 2013 where Casey, Michelle, and myself, and the Day paper had a web series before web series was cool called Kidsploration, and we would sell out the Guard and with video screens and performances, and at that point, I would think I was cool at that point. But then they kind of got older, and Dad isn't so cool anymore, even though they totally respect what I do and I'm trying to do for the community. But yeah, performing for kids, you really have to look and listen as you arrive. You've got to see the age groups that are at this particular show, and what can happen is I might need to change the set list right away, looking at what's there. And, if I have an older crowd, well, then we can go into some of the more juicier bits of music. Younger crowd, we alter everything for them as well. As performance goes, day to day, how they arrive determines how the show will go. And always, the more people that are there, really the better we are. Feeding on the energy of the kids jumping and like screaming as if we're the Beatles or something really is infectious. And they actually inspire us to play better. It's much more difficult playing for 3 people, and we have, trust me, it really is.
Now, we should mention, of course, you are a multi-award winning singer-songwriter, an Emmy award winning, no less. We are bowing in your presence. So, these are big things. These are big accolades. Many people in whatever industry who win awards say, well, I don't do it for them. but how important are they?
So in the beginning, really up until now, it's like you jump on this train of music and you're just trying to write, record, produce, put out. And as soon as it happens, it's like you're at the train station and you jump back on the train and you head back and the process starts again. So that's always the focus. So the Emmys and awards and all this were not in the forefront of my mind. Now, as I've sort of began to own what I do and how I do it, and now I can record at my house, I don't have to schedule things, I'm not everywhere, I can really control my time a little bit better. It does play into some of the marketing. It plays into some of the release dates. It has an effect now because I'm smarter at it. I've been doing it for a bit. I've realized I was so green in the beginning, even though people may have loved what I was doing. If I wasn't marketing it correctly, promoting it correctly, it really fell on deaf ears. So it does play a role now, for sure. I would say that the Grammys and all of the big things, of course, I'm all part of it. I would say I'm a little disenchanted by a lot of the way it operates, but I just try to work within their framework and do my best.
Talk to us about the new album. Like we said, comes out July 19th.
Yep.
So you said a little earlier in the interview there's some new stuff and some new approaches. So let's pin you down, Steve. What would you say is your favourite track on the new album and why?
Okay, so I'm going to have to split that into two, and let me explain. So my two favorite songs, maybe even three, but my at least two favorite songs on there. The Sound of Trees is an embodiment of me being an activist, and I've been an activist all my life. And so this was a way directly, like I said, I've kind of taken the sheen off it all, and I'm just going directly at this to really be a message that, our environment is so important. Protection of our environment is important. Trees are important. And so to write that song and to have many children's artists that are high up in the category want to join me to sing on it was touching, to say the least, because I sent them all a demo and they realized what I was trying to do and the gravity of it, and they all just jumped in. And I don't know, I have 9, 10, 12, I can't remember anymore, but these are artists that I would consider high up in the children's world, very well known, and they joined in without blinking an eye, because as soon as they heard it, they knew the power of what it could do. And again, going back to one of my things earlier I said is, growing up in the 80s, music, I believe, can change the world. And I still believe that. This was one of those songs that I'm hoping can do that in some way, right? So that's one that I really feel I love personally.
The oak tree booms with a mighty sound. The willow weeps, haunting and profound. The maple tree adds its sweet, sweet tune as the forest comes alive beneath the light of the moon. The birch tree moans with
Another one I really love is Fireflies. I believe Fireflies is really the embodiment of me. It's like, it's high energy, it's fun, it's catchy. It speaks about finding inner peace, finding peace with the environment, and finding world peace. So it's like, it's Sound of Trees, which is a little heavier, but it's the pop version of that and really fun, and it's danceable. And I was able to sort of take the message and a danceable music and put it together, it's never an easy process, right? It's like when you're singing heavy things, it's tough. The juxt to make people want to dance to it is kind of hard. So this one seemed to work out.
On a warm summer night, when the stars are shining bright, you can see them glowing. The fireflies are showing in the fields and in the meadows. It's a symphony of light with their gentle glow and gentle hum. They light up the night one by one.
And I'll speak to one more on the same level, We Rise Above, which is with this incredible singing performances of some children that came with me. It is brutally honest. It is just, we rise above, no more war, no more bias. It's in your face, and the video's kind of cool as well. It's shot in a classroom. A teacher friend of mine allowed us to use his classroom, which is very much like Hogwarts, and I thought, this is perfect. And it's just a direct approach to just saying stop. So those 3 songs really were on different levels, are all the songs that are all the pieces of me and really what I want to put out there with this album. Those 3 sort of connected with myself on larger level.
Well, where can they get the album? Let's give them the deets.
Yeah, sure. As of July 19th, you'll be able to find Steve Elci and Friends all together now on all streaming platforms. And of course, if you go to Steve Elci and Friends YouTube, the videos for them are the ones that are released are up there right now.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for those details. It's been great talking to you. Just before we let you go, there are going to be people out there going, Elci, that sounds like a well-known last name. We should say that your brother is, of course, Lee Elci, the popular radio personality here in Eastern Connecticut. We would not be forgiven if we didn't mention that there is a family connection. So we give Lee Elci a quick little mention there.
Sure. Love my brother. Sitting around Thanksgiving table, as they always use an example, is always an interesting time.
I'm sure it is. So, well, it's been great talking to you. Thank you for sharing with us what it is that you do, why you do it. And, of course, we wish you the greatest of success with this brand new album as well. And thanks ever so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And if you want to purchase Steve Elci and Friends' new album All Together Now, it's available right now to download from music streaming platforms. And if you want to see videos of the new songs from the album as well, then visit his YouTube channel. Connecticut East This Week is made possible by the Lyman Allen Arts Museum, located just off I-95 exit 83, has enjoyed celebrating the arts with visitors for almost a century. Throughout the year, the museum presents a wide range of changing exhibitions, in addition to their permanent galleries that celebrate Connecticut art and history and the Tiffany family's ties to the area. Outside, there's sculpture trailers surrounded by 12 rolling acres of gardens and lawns. More at lymanallen.org. Alliance for Living is the only HIV/AIDS service organisation and resource centre in southeastern Connecticut that also deals with homelessness and assists people dealing with substance use disorder. We provide a safe and confidential environment rooted in harm reduction. We offer a wide range of care to the community, including but not limited to case management, testing, syringe service program and medical nutrition therapy. To view a full list of our services, please visit allianceforliving.org. Newport Mansions, as seen on HBO's The Gilded Age. Newport Mansions preserves and protects 11 historic properties and landscapes in Newport, Rhode Island, exemplifying 3 centuries of achievements in American architecture, decorative arts, and landscape design. Plan your visit this year and attend some of the mansion's signature events, including Newport Mansions Wine and Food Festival, September 20th to 22nd, and holidays at the Newport Mansions, November 23rd to January 1st. Tickets and info at newportmansions.org. And
SCAD, the Southeastern Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, is looking for licensed clinicians and is offering the top benefits packages in the state. Go to licensedclinicians.org to learn more. That's licensedclinicians.org.
The Connecticut Council on Problem Gambling is a nonprofit organization which, through advocacy, prevention, and education, is here to support individuals and families who are impacted by problem gambling. Our helpline, 1-888-789-7777, is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also have live chat and tech support through our website, www.ccpg.org.
Time now for a look at other stories making the headlines this week. The site of a collapsed church in the city of New London is to be turned into affordable housing. The former First Congregational Church in the city's downtown unexpectedly collapsed 6 months ago in January, leaving the city with a massive cleanup bill. Mike Passero is the mayor of New London and says local housing developer Eastern Connecticut Housing Opportunities, or ECHO, is taking on the project.
They have been negotiating with the church to purchase the property. Those parties are ready to close on the property, and we're pretty excited about that because the remediation will be starting almost immediately. And, within the next couple of years, there'll be a substantial building on that property with much needed housing.
Julie Savin is ECHO's president and CEO and explained they intend to build apartments on the site.
Between 40 and 45 units. We are trying desperately to get a lot more on-site parking as well. That's a couple years away, hence the 2-year forbearance request from the city. However, the acquisition price is $125,000. Plus, we are assuming the city's lien and the First Congregational's mortgage and the cost of cleanup. So it's quite an expensive endeavor.
Passero says the city will get back their lien placed on the property, which amounts to over $250,000 for the cleanup and safety of the site after the collapse. Work to clear the site of rubble and prepare it for the next phase will begin soon. Congressman Joe Courtney and Deputy Secretary of the USDA, Torres Small, have been touring local farms in the region to highlight federal grants through the Renewable Energy for America program, or REAP, to help farmers lower their operating costs. Scott and Becky Papusha own Running Brook Farm in Killingworth, which grows plants and herbs, and utilize a $437,000 REAP grant to undertake 2 important energy projects at their business.
We're really proud of the fact that these grants enabled us to install a solar array as well as upgrade our lighting so that we are pretty much completely energy self-sufficient. And the grants enabled us to basically run off-grid because we also heat our buildings with firewood. So it's been tremendous in terms of both cost savings as well as feeling like we're building the business in a way that's in partnership with the community resources and the land in all of our environmental goals.
Courtney said the REAP program, which has always been popular, has had some major financial changes made to it recently.
Year in and year out, the REAP program was incredibly popular but always oversubscribed. When we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which the president just persistently kept at, if you really step back and look at the climate change part of that legislation, $40 billion is set aside for agriculture. I mean, that is an eye-watering amount. And that now the REAP program, instead of being oversubscribed, now is basically in a place can go out and actually promote and market this program.
Connecticut has around 5,000 farms that contribute $4 billion to the local economy, and energy costs are one of the biggest expenditures for the industry. And the state of Connecticut recently launched a Blue Economy Coalition to help unite businesses and organizations develop and support growth of the marine and ocean sector in the state. One of the coalition partners is Mystic Seaport Museum, based in southeastern Connecticut. Christina Connett Brophy is Senior Vice President of the museum and explained what a blue economy is all about and why it's important.
It's a sustainable and equitable ocean and coastal economy that epitomizes advances in science and technology to create value-added, data-driven economic opportunities and solutions to pressing societal needs. The categories, as NOAA defines them, of blue economy are marine transportation, ocean exploration, seafood competitiveness, tourism and recreation, coastal resilience. These are things Mystic has been talking about for a very, very long time.
Seema Eben is a professor at UConn, another of the coalition partners, and administers the school's Sea Grant program, and said the formation of the new coalition is timely.
I think the coalition is forming at a really pivotal moment for our state and region and the world as we move to decarbonize and transition to a more productive and sustainable relationship with our marine and coastal environments and economies. Building human and social capital is really key to meeting the challenges of the future, and this coalition is exactly about that, creating a platform for networking, communication, education, and advocacy.
Other coalition members include marine, ocean, and climate nonprofits, as well as for-profit businesses and academic institutions, many of them based in eastern Connecticut, that specialize in marine studies and research. That's all from us for this edition. Do send us your questions and story ideas to the show via our website at connecticut-east.com or Facebook or Twitter at Connecticut East and on Instagram at Connecticut East This Week. And you can listen to the show again on our social platforms, on demand, and by asking your smart speaker to play Connecticut East This Week podcast. And please like, follow, and share on your social media too. I'm Brian Scott Smith. Thank you for listening.